Let your light so shine before us, O Lord, that it may bring us to a deeper knowledge of you, our only God. Amen. Amen. This morning I bring you greetings from our fellow Episcopalians in almost 100 congregations, schools, and special ministries from Jensen Beach, just to the north of us here, all the way to Key West in the south. We speak many languages, we come from many countries, and we embody many cultures. But as we declared at the beginning of this service, we are united in one Lord, one faith, and one baptism. I'm delighted to be back here at Grace Church, and Kate is sorry not to be with us. She is in Denver this weekend visiting an old friend who's not doing very well, but she sends her love and her prayers and hopes to be with me on my next visit with you. She is particularly grieved to miss the food after Mass, because as you can tell, both of us are starving to death. So, of course, the big question is, how many of you are ready for Christmas? How many have got everything done? Cards, gifts, trees, decorations. How many of you? 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm so glad you're 5. I'm so glad you're here because you've only got about 3.5 days left before everybody shows up wanting you to do everything. So I'm very glad to know that the rest of us I've got some people here who are just as behind as I am, because I haven't done anything yet. But I would like to take this opportunity before my 3-hour sermon to express my gratitude to your rector, Canon Wright, for his faithfulness, not just to this community here at Grace Church, but to our diocese and to the wider church. His recent work to raise money and resources for the Diocese of Jamaica after Hurricane Melissa, and his trip there to express solidarity, are but one example of his commitment. And so I always want to let you know how much I value your rector, his friendship, his work as a priest, and his ability to extend the ministry of this congregation and our diocese well beyond our borders. So please join me in thanking him for all that he does for you and for me and for everybody. I would also like to acknowledge the ministry of Deacon Jorge Gutierrez, who is here. We hope that you're soon leaping tall buildings at a single bound again. He's had his knee replaced, and we're glad to see you up and about, Jorge. And I also want to acknowledge the ministry and leadership of the vestry and all those who have various responsibilities in this congregation for your ministries. This congregation is known throughout our diocese to be a lively, active congregation, and I know that all of that depends on the hard work of so many, and I want to thank you all who make this happen. So please let us thank all of those who support and make happen all the ministries of this parish. I would also like to congratulate those whom we are confirming and receiving into the church this morning, as well as those who are renewing their baptismal vows. It's a bumper crop to this morning. There are about 350 people to be confirmed. I hope I live long enough to get to the end of the list. But it's great. It's great. It's wonderful. We had a wonderful time just before church, and I'm delighted. And I want to welcome your friends and family who are here to support you this morning. This is an important day for you and for the life of this congregation. And just as you depend on grace for your Christian nurture, so this community now can rely on you for your participation and energy. And I want to thank all of those, Canon Wright and others, who have helped to prepare you for today. So please, everyone, please, particularly during this season of Christmas and new year, please pray for your clergy and parish leadership. And please know that I pray to God and give thanks to God for you every day. So we're almost at the end of our Advent journey, and we've focused in our Advent journey on the prophets, we've focused on John the Baptist, we've focused on the Mother of God, the Virgin Mary, and today our focus is clearly on Joseph, Mary's spouse. In the Gospel we hear that Joseph takes Mary as his wife, brings her into his home, and a baby is born to the young couple. It is in this Gospel reading that the Holy Family is formed. And it all seems, as we read this Gospel passage, which is so familiar to us, it all seems so normal and straightforward. Except that it wasn't normal or straightforward. As we hear the account again this morning of the creation of Jesus' family, we realize that it had a very difficult beginning. Here's the challenge. According to the strict rules of the time, if a woman kept company with another man who was not her fiancé or husband, the crime was adultery, and the law required that she be killed. It was a very harsh sentence. It was such a harsh sentence, in fact, that by the time of Jesus, we suspect that it was never carried out any longer. Nobody could equate that kind of action with that kind of punishment. So we hear that Joseph decided to dismiss her quietly to avoid public disgrace. He would dismiss her quietly to avoid public disgrace. The Gospel describes Joseph as a righteous man, which means quite simply that he kept all the laws and the rules of his religion at the time. The laws and rules that would be ordinarily required of anyone in any situation. And Joseph's decision to keep Mary from disgrace fulfilled the spirit of the law that was meant to guard everyone's well-being. Joseph was able to find a way of allowing the right outcome to emerge from a very difficult and embarrassing situation while still following all of the rules and expectations of his time. It's not the first or the last time we've seen a situation like this play out. We've all lived in families and communities in which there have been unexpected babies, unmarried mothers, unmarried fathers, children raised by grandparents and aunts and uncles, children raised even by those who are not their blood relatives. And if not raised by others, we all know of children who have had the help and support of adults outside their families. We all know of good men who have treated other men's children as their own without any distinction or discrimination. It may have been so for you. It was certainly so for me when I was a child. There were a couple of men in my own life who, when I was a boy, were as much family to me as were my parents, and they helped to raise me. If it had been left to my father, one of us would have killed the other one, let's face it. My father was not a particularly good father when we were small, and he needed some help. And thank goodness there were a couple of other men around who were able to help and provide for me things that my father could not provide. Without them, and without their nurturing of me and their patient help when I would get into trouble, growing up as I did in an inner city surrounded by all kinds of challenges, I would not have lived the life that I have subsequently lived. Men called into an unexpected vocation of nurturing children not their own, just as Joseph did. So Joseph is the example to all those men who have looked after children who are not their biological offspring and they did it because it was the right thing to do. So Joseph reminds us this morning of two things. First, it is important to know and keep the rules and expectations of one's religious tradition. These rules and expectations shape us into particular kinds of human beings who are meant to keep God before our eyes all the time. These rules and expectations create habits of thought and activity and behavior that are of crucial importance. But the second thing that Joseph teaches us is that we often have to go beyond those rules and expectations to what they actually signify, because keeping rules and expectations in and of themselves is only part of the work. The rules and expectations are meant to teach us how to live. And if we don't learn how to live and we're just keeping rules, we're missing the entire point. What sort of people are our religious rules and expectations, the commandments, the other expectations of our tradition meant to make of us? What kind of people are we meant to become? In the case of our religious tradition, this means that we must always respond to human need with compassion and mercy. Our religious rules and expectations are meant to make of us compassionate and merciful people. Just as Joseph responded to the fact that his fiancée was pregnant by someone else, and he responded with compassion and mercy. He would not disgrace her. He would not send her away. He would welcome her and her baby, and in doing this, he would create a new family, a holy family, a family in which God himself could be born. This is the vocation of any community of faith that calls itself Christian. Your mission statement says it perfectly, and I wonder when last you read your mission statement. Your mission statement says this: to witness to God's love and goodness in our lives, to meet the spiritual needs of our multicultural community with flexibility and thoughtfulness, to welcome visitors with warmth and dignity, and engage new members in suitable ministries, to fulfill God's purpose by working tirelessly as good servants and stewards, both in the church and in the community. It's a fabulous mission statement. To witness to God's love and goodness, it says. That, for me, is the most important part of it. And I suspect that you mean especially to witness to God's love and goodness to those people who need love and goodness the most, who may be in some kind of trouble or difficulty. Because the folks among us who are bearing the heaviest burdens are the ones who need God's love and goodness the most. So today, the Holy Family, Jesus' family, comes into being. And we remember that that first Holy Family was formed in compassion and mercy for a young woman in trouble. From compassion and mercy came then the miracle of the God who is with us, Emmanuel, and who has promised to be with us even to the end of the ages. And so may we in our own turn be ready this Christmas in acts of compassion and mercy to welcome Emmanuel once again. Amen.